Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host, Tim. Gugabe, Happy New Year. I believe you have a baby in the background, but we'll do the best we can with what we have today. How's your New Year going? And how have you been during the break? We've had like 3 weeks off. It seems forever.
Yeah, pretty good. Bouncing between countries, but been solid couple of weeks. How about you? Anything interesting happen over the New Year?
No, not. I've had some. I can't even remember what's happened in the last few weeks. Just working, doing some stuff, and then we've had like a snowstorm where I live, so everything like the gym has been shut down and everything, which is like super rare. So kind of been dealing with that back home, but the gym opened back up and like businesses are kind of opening back up now. But yeah, it's been a really crazy snowstorm in the Midwest. But other than that, we got fights coming up this weekend. I think we have 2 cards and then a break, and then we have like 20 weeks in a row or something ridiculous, so
Yep.
Should be good. But yeah, this kind of a random card here, but there's some like decently fun fights here. And then the pay-per-view next week is like really deep. Like there's some really good fights on that one. But all right, let's just get right into it. We can get to the main event. Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Rebos. These two fought back in 2019. And Rebos kind of just sprawled and brawled to a pretty easy win, very dominant win too. Do you think anything's changed since? And do you kind of see the same like prototype of a fight happening? And who do you think's the side? Do you think the money line minus like 180 or minus 190 or so for Rebos is accurate?
I think Dern's striking has improved a little bit. At least, she'll just kind of swing power, and Rebus has no defense, so could do something. But I think the pace gap and the control gap is just so big. Like, I'm personally not really playing pre-fight, but I don't mind lay Rebus props and maybe just look for a live entry. It wouldn't shock me if Dern just gets an okay position early or rocks her or something, and then Rebus just kind of just decides to flip the switch and absolutely sort of just leaf blower her. But yeah, it's kind of even the first fight's kind of weird after seeing how Rebus, if she actually gets put on bottom, has no get-ups. It's kind of funny. But obviously Dern's not a good wrestler, but yeah, watching it Rose Namajunas fight, it's hard to kind of look at Rebus and be like, I'm super confident against a grappler just because her instincts are horrible once she's grounded. But yeah, Rebus should just win this on youth and pace, I think.
Yeah. I overall the fight was originally booked at the last card of last year, and I got Rebos minus 110 then, and then it got canceled, and so did the play because it switched venues and
It wasn't the fight for last time, was it?
What's up?
It was only 3 rounds last time, wasn't it?
It was 3 then. Honestly, I think 5 rounds is probably better for Rebos because
yeah, same.
Because I think if Dern gets a finish, it probably wouldn't be in rounds 4 and 5 anyway, just because Rebos is a card, and I think it gives more rounds for Rebos to win. A 3-rounder, yeah. I still think Rebos would win if it went to the cards, but a big moment decision could happen.
Yeah.
If one back take happens in 1 round, all of a sudden you could be getting a closer fight. Where I think it's actually better for Rebos, but I do think the smaller cage could maybe help Dern a little bit, but. Ultimately, I do think I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think Dern's striking has improved. Just she creates a little more danger, but not as far as minute winning really goes. I don't think she's a good minute winning striker or anything. And yeah, and I feel like Rebos, just watching her also shut down the grappling of Virna was pretty impressive. So if. I think Dern can maybe get a takedown here and get some top time, but also seeing the one time Virna got on top of Rebos, she actually got her guard back. She got taken down inside control and got her guard back and was fine. So I think that's a really good sign for Rebos. So even if she gets taken down, she'll probably get taken down maybe once in this fight. I would say maybe once or twice, and at least she can probably stay safe. So, and ultimately I think she's a better striker. And she had the right approach the first fight. She was all the way in or all the way out on the mat. She would just go chest to chest or just bail out, So I feel like she should be okay here.
Yeah. I think she has one bad moment. So I think, Dern probably rocks her or something at some point. There'll be one big Dern moment, but I think apart from that, she'll just flip the switch.
One thing I will say though, like I've seen a lot of people focus on Rebus's like durability issues. I don't think it's as bad as I thought once I went and rewatched like her in general. It's like Marina killed her. Marina can nuke you. Like I don't think that was a massive shot too. And she didn't go like out, like it was still like a standing K. And then I think she got hurt by Virna, but Virna can like swing, but it wasn't bad. Like she got dropped and was like automatically up. Like I thought she responded well. And then Barber was like a positional thing. It wasn't like and then
I mean, head kick. She did get hit.
She just like beat the shit out of. I think like
Ribas
went for like a knee bar at one point, which is like maybe the dumbest thing you could do against Macy Barber. Like the one girl you do not want to try to knee bar is Macy Barber because she can just kill you from like hammer fist positions. But also like I actually think Ribas hits a little harder than I realized. She hurt Virna like pretty bad. She's hurt some other people. And she even like, and Dern's durability actually, like, she gets hurt a lot. Like I know against like bigger hitters too, but even Virna hurt her, So like I could see like a late thing for like Ribas. I think Ribas is gonna land some shots here. I'll just say that. So like I do think decision by Ribas is probably gonna happen though. Anyway, co-main event, Ponzinibbio and Harris. I think I have a pick on who I think is going to win, but I don't really like have a strong opinion on like a play. But I think you might have messaged me. Do you like Harris here or something?
Actually, I ended up more on the under. Like I got like plus 130 on the under because I just think it's two guys who are kind of fragile. Harris is pretty much guaranteed to make a fight happen. It's small cage. Both guys getting hurt a lot lately. Like how wrong can I really be? And like I think it's like minus 120 now. So market's great. Because like they can both hit, like they're both capable of knocking the other guy out. I'm pretty sure this will be a fight. Like, and I feel like with these old man fights, I kind of have to take the guy who has top position upside, just because I feel that's the cleanest. Like, in MMA, top position is the cleanest place to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so gun to my head, I'd probably take Harris, and like maybe I'll look for a live bet or something. But I kind of forgot how old Harris was. Like, when I first saw this book, I was like Harris like minus 200, but I checked, I was like, oh shit, he's like 38. Like. He is also very old, but I just kind of think Harris has had better moments lately, and also I just got to take the process edge because obviously Ponzinibbio can hit leg kicks, but never really separates volume. But Harris, will grapple as a proactive thing, and like I think if somebody's going to look like minus 400 here, it's probably Harris just getting on top and outgassing him. Because I acknowledge Ponzinibbio has a better career. But I just think Harris's game plan is more functional when they're both decrepit and old. And also the under just because they're going to fucking fight.
I agree with the under, especially with plus money. Like just because they're both fragile, they both can kind of swing too. I did pick Ponzinibbio though, just because I feel like he can minimize the wrestling, and I do think he's like a better round-winning striker. But like, so that's why I picked him. But I'm not. They're both kind of sketchy in their own way. Either guy just winning this fight would not surprise me, and I just kind of don't care. But I do agree with the under at plus money. Like, I just feel like they're both kind of just like old, and I don't know. And I feel like the grappling, I think they're just gonna swing. I think it's gonna be a thing where like Harris can't completely dominate on top, which is probably good for the under, and I think they'll just kind of swing at one another. I don't really care too much about this fight.
I agree Ponzinibbio is like a little bit more sophisticated technically, but I just think Harris will try harder to grapple, and I just feel like, this kind of shitty old man fight, like even 3 minutes of top control can be worth a ton in a decision kind of thing. If you get what I mean? Like, because like I just think it's like the striking is pretty 50-50, then like, one split or one position for Harris, and it's just like, oh, he has the clean range. Like, I think that just makes you like a decent favorite.
Yeah. One thing I will say, Ponzinibbio, like I like he's definitely like really declined, but it's hilarious. His like last few losses, besides Holland, like 3 of his losses were all split decisions, which like I kind of thought he beat Salikov, but like I kind of thought he had won that fight. Like the Pereira fight was really close, the Neal fight was really close. Like I kind of feel bad, like losing 3 split decisions kind of sucks. Just like
but like Morono, he like pulled a miracle out of his ass after getting absolutely destroyed by Morono, who has aged horribly since.
But he like won the fight rightfully because he literally knocked the guy unconscious.
Yeah, but I'm just like saying, 4 times before that. Like Morono was dropping his ass a lot.
Yeah, I think that fight like shows kind of good stuff for the under too. You know, I just feel like they're gonna probably swing at one another. But I have no action on that one. Alhassan and Almeida. I just think because Alhassan's just like so capable of knocking people out, it's just like hard to play a ton of people at minus 250 against him. Like there are some certain fighters I would, but like Almeida's a better kickboxer, like process kickboxer, but that KO is always there. And just like seeing Polteria get a few takedowns on Almeida, and like Alhassan can grapple a little bit. So I do feel like there are at least paths to victory for Alhassan, but like I still probably think Alhassan might, you can't trust him to like go to wrestling for 15 minutes exactly. So they probably will strike where Almeida's probably better. So like I understand Almeida favorite, but I think just paying that price on a guy who was like out grappled by Kopylov pretty easily, and Polteria, like he got taken down like 3 or 4 times in that fight, and like Alhassan did out wrestle Buckley later in the fight. You know, like it's not like I don't think he's like a good grappler, but I don't think Kopylov's that great of an offensive wrestler either. You know, so like I just feel like got to be careful on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I just kind of think Alhassan's attributes just kind of create these 50-50 fights because he kind of slows fights down with just being a massive fucking hoss. And, a tired, like, it's not just Kopylov out wrestling Almeida, it was a tired Kopylov out wrestling Almeida who had, like, 0 gas tank. Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Yeah,
again, it kind of confuses me how Budka lost to Almeida after seeing that Kopylov fight. Like, I would take Budka over Kopylov in a pure grappling match.
I'd have to think about it, but
Kopylov's grappling pretty bad.
Like Kopylov just like his offensive wrestling may be better than his defensive wrestling, but like it's still not great, you know. And like this is a guy who got subbed by like Carl Robertson, you know. So yeah.
Like Kopylov to me is one of the worst grapplers in the division, and just like that was like what the fuck. I think Almeida seems to take a while to recover from getting hurt in round 1. They're still just like. Are you seriously getting out grappled by Kopylov?
And not just out grappled, like dominated. Like if you get taken down and held down like a little bit, and you kind of get up, and like it was just like he just got owned.
I
can't look at that and be like, let's play minus 250 against Alhassan. Like Alhassan's not a great wrestler, but like honestly, going into both fights, I would say Alhassan. Like until I saw the Kopylov fight, like. If I had never seen Kopylov and Almeida fight, or Alhassan and Almeida, I would say Alhassan probably's got more offensive wrestling upside, you know, than Kopylov. But I still don't trust it for Alhassan, but it's there. Like it's a possibility, you know.
Yeah, I can gun to my head Alhassan, but I'm just like, I don't really want to get on Alhassan. I saw this 900 just it turns into a stinky nothingness. It was like Cesar's kind of old himself. He's like 35 or something. I've got this card as a bunch of ones where I'm like, I kind of like my plus 200, but also I feel like I'd rather live bet, or just like there's reasons it's plus 200, but also like the favorite should not be minus 250 kind of a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of like I'm picking the favorites to win, but I'm not comfortable with the minus 250. Like I'm picking Almeida to win, but I'm not comfortable with them here. Going on to like another fight just like that, Curtis and Kopylov, like I'm picking Kopylov to, I think he's faster, and I am picking him to win, but I feel like this is going to be a competitive striking fight, you know? We have, like, I do think Curtis, like, Kopylov has advantages. He's a better kicker. He's faster. He's more athletic, but Curtis is a better boxer in the pocket, like, I think. I could see him having success here. It's like another one where I pick Kopylov to win, but I just feel like we're probably just going to get a pretty competitive fight. Kopylov is like I like him. Like I've played him in some selective spots. You know, I played against him with like Hernandez just because of like the grappling path, but like he can get landed on. Like like he can he is vulnerable in the pocket, so I do fear that a little bit, but. I think we get a pretty close fight. I did pick Kopylov, but it's another one where I feel like he's probably the rightful favorite, but minus 250. Like 7 out of 10 just seems like, does he really win this over 7 out of 10? I don't know about that. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think his price is insane. Like Kopylov is very mid. Like Kopylov's had competitive striking rounds with everybody, and and he's gassy. So it's just I think Curtis wins round 3. Like I can see how Curtis makes this overly difficult for himself because he's an idiot. But I think that makes the fighter split decision. I think if Curtis came out and actively actually pushed a pace on him and showed up in decent form, Curtis could minus 300 him by just not taking no for an answer. Because I think if Kopylov doesn't land a head kick or something, Curtis is super durable and Kopylov just cannot take a pace beyond 15 strikes a round. Yeah. And people seem to assume that Kopylov's going to just do the Hermansson thing, and it's just Hermansson has elite cardio and a grappling threat. And
he's got that great in and out game. He's got a really good in and out. That was a great performance, by the way. What Hermansson did to Curtis, I think I had played Hermansson there, but I was not expecting it to be that. Yeah. I
was the same. I was like, oh, Hermansson can get on top, and it's going to be competitive kind of thing. But then Hermansson absolutely shits on him by it showed actual fight IQ, which is unusual for the sport.
I like Hermansson. Hermansson's a good fighter. Yeah, he's a good fighter.
I just wish he was he just seems to have this thing where if things start going against him, he just all collapses sometimes. But I suppose that's life. Yeah, I don't see how Kopylov covers here. Unless Curtis is maybe he's just injured from the Allen fight and that's just fucked, or he catches a head kick or something. But I just Kopylov just he had very competitive striking fights with Jericho and what's his name, the Brazilian dude, and even Frem. It's round 1 until Frem's nose exploded. That was you think round 1 was 25 to 20, 22 significant strikes or something. He was hitting him harder, but it doesn't separate ever.
It's another one where I feel it could just be it's gonna be a negative EV win for Kopylov.
100%. Yeah, it's gonna be and also I think the under if Kopylov is this big a favorite, the under makes no sense. Because Kopylov doesn't really separate on pace or minute winning ever. So unless you think Kopylov is going to knock him out, and knocking out Chris Curtis is not easy. I just don't see. I'm tempted to just take knock Kopylov decision because I'm just Kopylov decision is even money at places, and I just think if it goes 15 minutes, I expect Curtis to. Curtis is, if he's pushed a pace, he's probably favourite to win the decision. If he hasn't pushed a pace, it's probably 50-50. Inevitably, it'll be something where Curtis has a good round, gives away round 1 for no reason, has a good round 2, then gets head kicks with 40 seconds left, and does the fucking down. Yeah, and then he'll flip the switch in round 3 and absolutely demolish Kopylov, and it'll look like a minus 500, and then he'll complain, and he'll be like, oh, I got robbed, fuck you guys. And it's well, do something before 10 minutes, you fucking idiot. Again, my view is if anybody's going to look minus 400, going to look minus 300 here, it's Curtis. Just off pace. I just again, I think people think I hate Kopylov or something, but I just don't think his skill set allows him to be a big favorite unless he scares people. It's just very hard to be a huge favorite if you don't want to go beyond 50 strikes to a fight and you have no grappling.
Yeah, I think Kopylov is more this type of price when he has guys who need to get him down, which he's had, but he has good.
And he sucks off his back.
But he has good first layer takedown defense. There's some guys who just can't get him down, who he can just style on, and that's happened plenty of times. But
who is he actually styled on though? That's the thing. It's most of the time it's
Soriano.
Soriano. But apart from look, go fight metric. Look at his strikes landed in all his fights. Apart from Soriano, it's always within 5 strikes.
He kind of,
and most of the time
he beat up Jericho pretty good, I would say.
No, he didn't. Round 1 he won. Round 2 came back and I think that was it was 1-1 and went back to evens. And then Jericho got hurt in round 3 and then he put a bunch of strikes on him in the end.
I'm saying
because Jericho was plus 300 after round 1. And Kopylov slows down and it goes Jericho was evens after round 2. Then he just dies. And it's
I guess I'm misremembering the fight a little bit, but Soriano, he absolutely styled.
Oh, Soriano, best fight of his career. Soriano performance incredible. Don't get me wrong, that was great, but everything else is just kind of mid.
Yeah, Yeah, I think this is just going to be a close fight. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I did pick Kopylov, but I think it's probably Dogger Pass again. Really interesting fight here. I'll ask you your opinions on it first. I wrote a long write-up for this one. Bosi and Christian Rodriguez. What do you think here?
Gun to my head, Christian Rodriguez. So I'd probably go wait to live bet just because I feel like Rodriguez tends to take a bit to get running. Boshi's weird because, like, I personally don't see why people seem to think he's the absolute guy. Yeah, people seem to think he's a god prospect. They're like, I think he's good, but nothing in him makes me go, oh shit, this guy is going to go storm the UFC belt. Like he can have strike, and I think Rodriguez is. Hello?
Sorry, I think I lost you for a second. I don't know if
yeah. But my mostly succeeded off like people grappling him and then overpacing and getting pulled into his fucking universe of crazy scrambles. I think if Bashi just kind of just calmly outstrikes him, he probably can keep the pace like in a place that he's fine. But
can Bashi outstrike him though?
I think it's a decent shot. I don't know. Again, I'm just gonna. My personal plan is to wait like 3 minutes, then look for a live bet. Like I don't think Rodriguez is going to just teleport to like -500 or something, and I just want to see that he's like getting his shit together. But yeah, what's your take?
So the Bulgarian fight, like I did a lot. Like I think I had played Bulgarian against Marshall, and he was like a dog, and he shouldn't have been. And then I think Bulgarian, then he was like a pretty big favorite against Rodriguez. I didn't play Rodriguez, but I did pick him. Like I was just like, this is going to be a close fight. Like I thought it was. Bulgarian's cardio is a bit untested, and Rodriguez is hard to like take and keep down. He's just a good scrambler. When he gets his back taken, he can like reverse position well, like kind of like David Onama in a way. And I watched this fight, and I think it's going to be close. I think picking Bosi is totally reasonable. I think it's more of a competitive fight than -300, though. I think it's going to be. It may just come down to cardio. Like I think Bulgarian is a better wrestler than Bosi, but Boshi's cardio like actually looks solid. But he hasn't been tested. Like Bulgarian wouldn't gas against someone who's not resisting him, right? And like Bosi generally like hasn't really had to deal with anyone like good who can resist him. I do think he'll get resisted here, so it'll be interesting to see like how he responds. I personally think like his striking looks okay, but I actually just on experience and just like in extended exchanges, I think I would go Rodriguez on the feet. And if he could just like keep the fight standing and get up, I think this could get very, very interesting. But Boshi's like, I think it's going to come down to cardio. Like if Boshi's cardio holds up, I think he'll win the fight. If he starts slowing down, I think it's going to be a classic C-Rod fight. But even when fresh, I do think C-Rod will get taken down, but I do think he'll get back up like at times. So I think it's going to be a classic C-Rod fight. Like he's faced 3 grapplers. He was a huge dog in all of them, and he's won 2 of them. It was Hosas, Jonathan Pierce, and he was beating up Jonathan Pierce pretty badly in round 3. And then the other one was Bulgarian, and we know how that went. So like, I just feel like playing a -300 unproven grappler is not smart against Rodriguez. Yeah, but I also like do like Bosi as a prospect, and like I'm not saying he can't cover his line. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to cover his line, but he might win. I just think he's got to be. I think you got to be really good to cover -300 as like a grappling dependent fighter against Rodriguez. That's I think you have to be like a really, really good grappler, and he's a good grappler. I think he was a no-gi like world champ in brown belt, and I will say his wrestling credentials aren't like nearly what they were talking on Contender Series. I looked him up on Track Wrestling. He took 4th and 6th in the state of Michigan. Like I coach high schoolers who has finished higher at like a harder state of Missouri. Missouri and Michigan are probably pretty similar, like it wrestling wise. But so he's like a good wrestler, but he's not like he's not like some like D1 guy at all. Like he's not D1, but he wouldn't have started at any good program like at all, not even close. So, but I like his pace. I like his tenacity. This is like my fight of the night. I think this is like a really, really fun fight, and I think we'll get some really good exchanges. But I think playing Bosi is a little scary at the price. I think he's just overpriced. He's a little too expensive, but I do like him. Like, you can like something, but think it's too expensive to buy, right? And that's kind of what I think here.
I'm pretty similar. I just think that, Rodriguez probably has to take him to the Rodriguez verse to win this, and like I'm happy to just wait 3 minutes to see if Rodriguez, because unless Rodriguez like gets a back take or something instantly, I just feel like most likely I'm probably getting the same price as I would pre-fight. I'm getting like 3 minutes of very important information for essentially free. Even if Bashi just like wins round one but does it in an unsustainable way, it's like, cool, in that case, all right, I got plus 500. I'm happy to take that.
Yeah, I think waiting is probably the best thing, just because I don't see how you could like know for sure how this fight's gonna go. The cardio is like the most important factor. Like, again, it looks good, but for Bosi, but it's just like, it's really exhausting to wrestle Rodriguez. Like, it's way more exhausting to wrestle Rodriguez than these other guys that he's wrestling, and we've seen that. Like, Dolgarian didn't gas in his last matchup against whoever, that Marat or whatever, but he gassed heavily against Rodriguez. Like, Pierce gassed against fucking Rodriguez, and Pierce doesn't gas, So yeah. Any fights on the prelims you want to talk about, or is anyone in the comments, any fights on the prelims you want to talk about?
I think Klein versus Dudikova. I'm kind of surprised Dudikova is that big a dog. Like, I think Klein's a good prospect, but people seem to have just gotten in this huddle somewhere and decided that she's like a super prospect. And like, I think she's very good, but I don't really see the athleticism there. I don't see where she's taking Dudikova if she's going to be minus 1,000 kind of a thing.
I do think she's better at everything, so I think she's going to win.
I think she's going to win, but
minus like 400 or 500 probably seems a little more appropriate than like minus 2,000 or whatever the fuck she is right now.
And like, Dudikova has like a skill set she goes to, and she goes to it quite hard and athletically. So it's just like, Dudikova like getting 2 takedowns or just having good timing just seems like, I don't think it's like a, I think it's like a 10% prospect. Klein's good. Like, I don't think Klein's bad. I just like, when I see these sort of prices, I expect to see some like insane physical specimen, and like, she's not that.
Yeah. The Jacoby Smith Parsons fight's pretty interesting.
That seems a bit insulting.
Smith does, like, he's very unproven, but he's a legit wrestler. He wrestled at Oklahoma State, was an All-American there. And it looks like he can wrestle for 15 minutes, which is good. And he's very athletic, very powerful, and he has good ground and pound and can float on top. Like, Parsons, the defensive wrestling hasn't been tested a ton in the UFC. I've generally liked his get-ups, but Giles had a sequence where he kind of beat him up from top position, which I didn't like. So I ultimately did pick Smith, but it's also like short notice, and this is a big step up in competition. So it's like another one where I'm like, I'm mostly picking the favorites in these matchups, but I just feel like I feel like something's happened the last like 3 months where like the favorites have become bigger favorites. And I think it's because they went on such a big streak where they were dominated. But these lines are like so inflated now. And it seems like a trend, Yeah,
I agree with you with that. I've definitely noticed.
Yeah.
Minus 50, just like, I think like fight day, because like this is still early in the week. Like in fight day, one of these will randomly just get like insanely hit. Like, I don't know, like Smith will go to like minus 1,000 or something, because you get that spot like after weigh-ins where suddenly somebody just decides to just bet somebody at any price, and it's just like, okay, Parsons can wrestle. Smith can also wrestle. Smith's probably better at wrestling, but like, I think Parsons could definitely participate in that fight. Do you have a take on the Cagliari fight against Karate?
I picked Karate. How do you say your name? Karate?
Karate. I always call it Karate. It's great name.
Karate. Okay, I'll call her Karate too. I picked her to win. I do think I like her volume and her cardio and whatnot. Cagliari could maybe get some like power takedowns here, like, but I don't. And she has a little pop on the feet, Cagliari, but I feel like Karate is just a little. I like her process a little more. I'm not like running out to play like minus 270 or anything, you know, but I ultimately did pick her to win. I think she has good cardio, good volume, and her get-ups and defensive wrestling are probably good enough to minimize. And I think if it's just on the feet, she'll probably be winning the minutes. But it's still a low-level women's MMA fight, you know? What do you think?
Yeah, Cagliari control seems interesting, but yeah, Karate's weird because like she's kind of really, really raw, but her just physical attributes will win her fights. I was kind of looking at the under, honestly, because I feel it's kind of binary. Like maybe I'm over-relying on Karate, like pacing her, but I think Cagliari gets on top. Karate's just hasn't got like her submission defense is just not good. Like she just makes stupid decisions. Yeah, I think undercard. There's some okay undercard fight. Even like I like Pateria, where like maybe that's a bit too far for some people, but I just think Pateria, people act like he's horrible when he's not. Like Pateria probably looked like the favorite against Cesar Almeida and lost in a hilarious way.
There's some interesting fights on here, man. Like even that Lopez fight's interesting too. You know?
Gadzhi's weird because you can see Gadzhi's like he's just like Ankalaev. Like you can see he's trying to be Ankalaev, but he's like he just doesn't seem to enjoy fighting that much. It's just funny. It just seems to like I think Gadzhi's probably a top 10 light heavyweight because he can imitate enough of Ankalaev, but also the whole time it just looks like he's really struggling in there. And Lopez is like durable, can get up, and like enjoys the game a lot more than Gadzhi. So it's probably a question if he can get up or not. Like if Lopez can get up like 3 times, I think he could just break Gadzhi because Gadzhi just seems to be mentally weak to me.
There's some interesting fights on here. Another one. I know a lot of people on Moises over Ogden. The one thing I didn't realize, like Ogden has never really been. I think like not many people try to wrestle him. It's only been like. What's his name? Levitt. And he's pretty bad off his back, but in every other fight he's been facing, like he's been the offensive wrestler. And once I saw him on his back, I'm like, okay, like I get why people like Moises here. But so I do think Moises will probably get that one done because I feel like that offensive wrestling. But like there's something about Moises. I just don't like. I don't think Ogden is some like physical pressure fighter who can do the game that other people have just destroyed Moises with. Like he doesn't have like the physicality and stuff with some of these other fighters, but there's something about Moises. He's just kind of, I'm not going to say he's a quitter, but he gets like discouraged in there, you know, and can just fall apart. And I just feel like, but I do think he's better though. Like I do think he's like a better fighter, and like Ogden looks seriously bad off his back against Levitt, like really, really bad. And the leg kicks are probably there for Moises too, but Moises just pushes me out to a degree, you know. Like
I've got the exact same take. Like I think Moises should Moises has all of his skills to minus 1,000 here. Like he's essentially just better, but
he's better.
He just. And it's like, and like Moises, like, he mentally collapses, but he's only mentally collapsing against like top 15 physical gods. Kind of like, he's lost to what? Dariush, Alvarez, Makachev. Like, none of those losses are shameful, but they just feel like I like Ogden winning is probably like Ogden wins by either what, creating like a very shitty striking decision and winning like by a horrible split, or ending up on top in like 2 rounds of competitive scrambling. Like, I can't really see how else Ogden takes this. And like for Moises, there should be like
one of the weirdest results with Trey Ogden is how he just like randomly outstruck Zellhuber that one fight.
Zell was so scared of the takedown though. I think Zell just refused to do shit.
If Ogden can outstrike Zellhuber, he could outvolume Moises. But also Ogden, like in any other fight, hasn't looked good on the feet. But like,
I mean, he didn't really outstrike Zellhuber. He didn't really outstrike Zellhuber. Zellhuber just was so terrified of getting taken down, he refused to do shit.
I mean, he outstruck him in the sense where he landed more strikes than Zellhuber and won a decision because of it.
Yeah, but like what? His strikes, like he landed like 45 leg kicks. It was just the whole time. First round, it was like one head strike. Like Zellhuber just randomly decided he did not want to be taken down that day and had no interest in. Yeah, I don't know. I think Moises should Again, I think if Moises can not be an idiot, he should just completely torch him. But yeah, I agree. There's just like some feeling that like Moises will somehow fuck this up.
Yeah. This is I will say though, this is a big step down for Moises. Like he has been losing to his losses are Islam Makhachev, Alvarez, Klein, and BSD. Like they are not Trey Ogden. So like this would be like a much worse loss. So I don't think we can just look at those fights, see him lose to those guys, and be like, but there is just something about him that sketches me out. The
issue I have with the Moises these days is I felt like back when Moises was like fighting his Kopylov and like stuff and Bobby Green and stuff like that, he was super proactive. He just seemed to he might have lost or got known, but he would like never give up. But it feels like lately when he goes against him, his mental's not good. Like that Klein fight, I found that Klein fight pretty ugly from him because he just Klein's a weird guy. It's like if you give Klein his space and timing to do his thing, he is very, very, very hard to beat. If you make Klein actually participate in this fight, he has like major issues. And Moises just seems to get absolutely like cowed by him because I thought that the Moises that fought some of his earlier guys wouldn't have like given up like that. But this is Ogden. Like Ogden should not. Klein is a massive hitter who like is very scary to go into. Ogden's not scary. Ogden's like the least like potent fighter, and Ogden's like probably like bottom 5 divisional guys in terms of like dangerousness. Like I don't think he's bad, but there's no real power there. He's not a physical specimen. Moises should just be better at everything. I'd expect Moises to out-grapple Levitt. Like on paper credentials.
We talked about this fight a little bit, but I think I will say I think the defensive wrestling of Lopez, I didn't have quite enough of a sample to totally to totally have a really, really good read fight. I taped this a long time ago though, but I do think on the feet Lopez is Lopez seems like a competent fighter, overall, and I can see the striking exchanges being competitive and whatnot. I think it, I think the defensive wrestling that is what's going to decide who's the big favorite. And I didn't think I had enough on the regionals to really know about Lopez. When it comes to, I think I saw him taken down a little bit, but he kind of got up, but it was also a shitty get up versus a bad opponent. I felt like I didn't have enough personally. Do you want to talk about that fight? I'm pulling up my write-up for it just because I wrote it up 3 weeks ago. So, but do you have any other takes on that?
Essentially the same thing. I think if it stays standing, Gachlov has issues, but otherwise, it's going to come down to the tape. I think Gachlov, he just seems like he's trying to copy what Ankalaev is doing. He just seems like a worse version of Ankalaev. And again, you can be a worse version of Ankalaev and still be a top 10 heavyweight because that is a great skill set. But it just feels like he's gonna have a lot of shitty fights in heavyweight where he just wins off 2 takedowns and lay and pray kind of stuff. I just don't I just get the feeling from him if you make him actually work standing, he just doesn't have that deeper tank or mentality.
Yeah, I do ultimately think I got to go with the Russian wrestler though.
It's fair.
I'll pick that, but it's just if that defensive wrestling of Lopez shows up, all of a sudden this is a very different fight. And I just felt like I didn't have enough of Lopez to know. He hasn't faced a grappler like this, and he just hasn't been tested a lot. And I do think Gads is a decent wrestler. So that's kind of ultimately where I fell with it. But I feel like we talked about most of the fights here. It should be a pretty fun card. There's some fun fights on there, some sloppy fights. I do think some dogs are going to win this week though. I feel like I think the right guys are favored for the most part, but I feel like they're too big of favorites, and I think we'll get some competitive fights, which ultimately means some dogs will win, but that's all I got. We'll get back here for UFC 311. That's a great card. There's a lot of fun fights on there. Some kind of crazy lines too. But anything else you want to add, Gugabe, or you want to call it a day?
I expect dogs to win here, but based on UFC in the last 6 months, dogs just do not Again, I think I saw the stat like at the end of last year. Someone said it's like dogs like won at like a 30% clip for 2024, which was like
a what clip?
Like 30%. Like if you just bet every underdog, and that's like all at all prices, like that's including like plus one. Like I think it was like if you bet every dog at the close last year, it was like minus 7% or something.
Yeah, I do think we got some big upsets towards the end of the year, which I kind of like liked to see. You know, I wanted some dogs to like win.
Yeah, but even then, there's still like so. I can just think of so many like horrific dog spots last year where it's just like the guy was massive value and just fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely like a change in people. Like favorites have gotten more juice than they used to be. I will like it was like I don't know how long some of these people in the comments have been around, but like just like 5 years ago, you didn't see many minus 1,000s in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, but now like you would some of those same matchups that were like made then, you would see that now. Like it's just like a change for sure.
It's weird because I do think that like there has been like a thing where fighters are getting a little bit better at pitching shutouts, but also I feel like favorites. Yeah. But also I feel like favorites have gone on this insane run. Because I feel like last year there were just a bunch of fights where like a kind of mid-favorite just pulled off some bullshit kind of thing. I just feel like there were just a bunch of fights where you just saw like stupid, just like miracle favorite win kind of things.
I think it's a combo of that. Like I think there definitely been some like underdogs have gotten unlucky in some fights for sure, but I also do think like some of the styles of today like warrant a higher price tag, like volume striking and persistent takedowns and things like that. And I think there's just like there's more mismatches in the UFC now than there used to be too, because I feel like you'll get some like uber prospects, you know.
I mean, I agree, but also I feel like volume takedowns, like they're kind of like, I think as a percentage of fighters, like wrestle first fighters are starting to make up a smaller and smaller chunk of the UFC like population. Like, because I think of like recent like egregious massive favorites, I think of something like Rufy versus On Top or something, where it's just like, there is no universe where Rufy's style is a minus 1,000 style.
Yeah, what's going on? Just 2 to 3 years ago, you get minus 200 on a favorite early in the week that we played.
I think it's still line movement. Pick it like I feel like the last 24 hours, you see massive like favorite pushes. I feel like most cards with like one favorite will just randomly get juiced to fuck in the last 12 hours.
They get hit really hard early and then late. You know, like I've kind of noticed that. They like stay steady maybe for like fight week for a bit, you know. But
like personally, I think open the juice I think is like significant because like if something is like egregiously wrong, the opener sort of movement will usually pick that up kind of thing. Like if somebody is just like really off, but like the late movements is probably just down to like some big tipping service or something just tips somebody, which means that like I think there's some value in that information, but I don't necessarily think it's like super duper important because it's like I respect Gombas, I respect Lucrative, I don't respect Magic. But if one of those guys like decides to tip something and moves it by 50 cents or by 50 cents of juice in the last 3 hours, I'm like, that's I care, but I'm not like, oh shit, like those guys are on it kind of a thing. Yeah. But I feel like if an opener comes out and gets absolutely obliterated, then I think that's just more natural. But in that case, like how much money do people move on that? Like realistically.
Yeah. I remember I don't think it was like I think a little bit might have been because I like gave it out, but I'm not saying I had like a ton of weight or anything. But you remember that fight? The Korean guy, like, do you remember that?
Is it Road to UFC one or?
Yeah, the Road to UFC guy. Dude, he was minus 145 all week, and I was like salivating at playing it. I gave him out Thursday, and he jumped to he was minus 145 all week. I gave him out, and then he was like minus 145, and then I think like the next day, like around when I gave him out, so it could have been me, it could have been anyone though. He got to like minus 170, and then on Saturday he moved to like minus 250. Like that. I mean, that's just I don't think people understand. Like a minus 145 to like minus 250, 260 move is massive. You know, it's like 11-12% implied. Because I think I have like minus 260 or something. So it got a little over like 70% implied when it was less than 60% implied at minus 145. Because minus 150 is 60% implied. So just like yeah, like you'll see some of that sometimes where you just see these like huge movements on certain fighters. But
And also, I feel like back in the day, we used to be able to move. Like, remember, like we had that thing where we ended up losing this one hilariously. But remember, like many years ago, we like tipped Hector Aldana against Teropoli, and we moved it from like plus 250 to evens.
I wasn't part of that, but I remember it. Like I didn't play that.
I could have sworn you were part. I remember I was really pushing it hard, and that was back when I was like bet MMA, like God mode for a bit there. And like I think I legit took it with plus 250 to evens or something because Teropoli's like regional tape was really bad.
I think I could have. It's been so long, I can't remember. But I do remember like agreeing with the movement, you know. But and then Teropoli just styled on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was like more. I think I was like 3 units of plus 220 or some shit, and you were just like agreeing with me. Like, I don't think you were like shoving in as hard as I was. But I just remember that line movement.
It's been a long time. I can't totally remember.
Yeah, because I think we're still in podcast at that point. Like, what card was that?
I think that was like right around when we like maybe.
I think that's when we started. Magni Ponzinibbio.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
that was
2018,
2019, 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure that was like peak men. That was like the peak of my MMA sorcery, and I missed that period of MMA. I would tip anything, and they were just weird. Like I went through some of my peak bets back then. It's just like I took like Gage's sub plus 1,000 against Poirier or something. Like I just like
yeah.
Like I approve of it. Like young Gugabe had some great ideas. Like that's certainly I bet.
I remember. Didn't you hit Smith sub round 3 versus?
Yeah, 176 to 1.
Yeah,
that was my only bet.
I remember watching that fight, and I was like out with friends, and it was like on the TV, and you couldn't hear anything. Like we were at a bar, and I remember you had that, and so I was like screaming because I had no action on the fight, but I was like just having a good time, you know. I remember like screaming when that happened, and people were looking at me like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" You know?
How dare you, Anthony Smith?
For you, yeah.
We love Anthony Smith. How could you be against the success of Anthony Smith?
Yeah, he's had a rough go the last few fights, but I think
he's still hitting Galatano over what's his name.
Shot's officially over. It lasted for like 7 years though.
Yeah, that last fight was quite depressing. Like he just collapsed. Like. That's weird because it wasn't like he was uncompetitive against Reyes. Like I'm not saying he was winning or anything, but like it was a fight. And then he just gave up. No, round two he melted. Don't get me wrong, but like round 1 it was just like competitive striking.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it, but I just
because he went for the single leg and he grabbed his leg and then just like absorbed like 40 hammer fists to free and got TKO'd. Like round 1 it was like 5-strike margin.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, we've been talking too long, but we will roll. But hopefully you all had a good time, and good luck on the fights this weekend, everyone. It's good to have the UFC back, so we'll do that. And we'll do a podcast for 311 next week too.
Yeah, catch you guys.
See you, boys.